Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our course on Western civilization with Chinese comparisons. It is composed of a series of lectures in which we are going to examine some of the major similarities and differences in Chinese and Western civilizations. Today, we are going to address this question: why do we take the time to compare Chinese and Western civilizations? Before we come to specific topics, I think first of all, we need to figure out what civilization means. There are quite a lot of definitions for civilization in the academic field. Then what is civilization etymologically? Let's have a look. The word civilization comes from the Latin word for townsman or citizen, civis, and its adjective is civilis. To be civilized essentially means being a townsman, governed by the constitution and legal statutes of that community. The idea of civilization is developed by the 18th century French thinkers as a concept in contrast with barbarism. Civilized society differs from primitive society, for it is settled, urban, and literate. Therefore, the development of writing could be considered as a prerequisite for civilization. The first civilizations are highly organized societies in which the only efficient way of communication was writing. As Thomas Hobbes noted, civilization is a choice to move from a life that is solitary, nasty, brutish, and short in what is called a state of nature into a civil society, where individuals willingly give up some freedoms in exchange for a more secure civil society. In this course, our focus will be on two of the world's most influential civilizations, Chinese and Western. For the purpose of this course, we will define Western civilization as referring to civilizations with their roots in European continent. And we are going to start our examination by looking at intercultural communications. We are now living in an age of globalization. The world has become flat, and people cannot separate themselves from intercultural communication. And we have a lot of chances encountering another culture. What is important in intercultural communication is the cultivation of cross-cultural awareness and the ability to appreciate and understand other civilizations. However, learning to look at other people's perspective is not easy. Most of us fail to do so. And most of us just let ethnocentrism blind our eyes and narrow our mind. Therefore, a crucial starting point would be the universality of ethnocentrism. What is meant by ethnocentrism? Let's look at the word formation of this word. Ethnocentrism is made up of two roots, ethno and centrism. Ethno here indicates race, people, or culture. As for centrism, I think you all know its meaning. To put it together, ethnocentrism is the belief in the superiority of one's own ethnic group and one's own culture. Everywhere in the world, people tend to view their own culture as superior to others and tend to view their own living place as the center of the world. More often than not, we are not fully aware of this ethnocentric tendency hidden in our mind. So, to arouse your attention to this unthinking ethnocentrism, I would like to show you a group of world maps from a variety of countries I suppose as Chinese students, you are all familiar with China's world map. But the question is, are the world maps from other countries the same as ours? Let's have a closer look. Here is a PRC map of the world. We are all familiar with this map. It appeared on the classroom walls of our high school, and we grew up with it, and we take for granted that this is exactly what the world looks like. Let's have a closer look at this map. So in this map, could you tell me where is China? Yeah, this is China. And where is this? Yes, the Pacific Ocean. So what is in the center of this map? You could see that in terms of the east-west axis, the Western Pacific Ocean is put in the center of this map, and China is put approximately in the center. And in terms of north-south centering, we could see that the equator is put in the center of this map. Thus, the northern and southern hemispheres are equally represented in this map. And because of the strong curvature, we could see that from a Chinese point of view, North America and Western Europe seem to be peripheral. Since we are all familiar with PRC map of the world, I would like to show you another map. This is a Russian map of the world. This map was printed in Moscow during the last years of the former Soviet Union, but the current Russian mapping is largely unchanged. So where is China in this map? This is China, right? And where is this part? Russia. So is China still put in the center of this map? No. This time in this map, the east-west axis has centered its view westward from China to Moscow. And you could see that the Pacific Ocean is split on both sides of the map. In terms of north-south centering, the Russian map also places the equator in the center. The degree of curvature exaggerates the land area of the northern hemisphere. People who grow up internalizing this map will never perceive that in terms of land area, Africa is actually 25% larger than the former Soviet Union at its largest extent. But actually, if you look at the map, these two parts look almost of the same size. Okay, and then I would like to show you another map. This is a Western European world map. Look at this map. What happened to this map? This map is made in Switzerland. It typifies Western European maps. Not surprisingly, Europeans see this world as centered on Western Europe, more precisely on London of Greenwich Mean Time, in the east-west orientation. Here, there is less curvature of the Earth in this map. The vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean cannot be seen entirely because it is split on the opposite sides of the map. In terms of north-south centering, note that the equator is no longer put in the center in this map. This representation slides Antarctica. Look, this is Antarctica, and privileges the northern hemisphere. Note that Antarctica is less represented in this map than in the Russian map. Let's have a comparison with the Russian map. Look, Antarctica seems much larger in the Russian map than in the Western European map. Then the question is, why don't they put the equator in the middle of the globe? This should representation reveals another level of ethnocentrism. By suppressing Antarctica, the map makers could give more space over to the North Hemisphere and thus exaggerate the importance of their own region. Okay, let's have a look at another map. This is a traditional USA world map. This is a standard USA world map in nearly all schools throughout most of the 20th century. Not surprisingly, in the east-west axis, this map centers on the United States, and the landmass of Eurasia is split on both sides of the map. Is that because the former Soviet Union is so difficult for Americans to review in its entirety in the Cold War era? We have no idea. How does India appear on this map? Can you find India on this map? The answer is both on the left and on the right. Actually, some part of the Eurasian landmass has been duplicated on this map. In terms of north-south centering, we could see that this map places the equator about 2/3 of the way from top to bottom. This is the equator. This is 2/3 of the way from top to bottom. So, more than the Western European map, this map plays down the southern hemisphere and exaggerates the northern hemisphere. This implicit message seems to be that there's mostly just a lot of water down there, so there's less importance for that region. The projection used here is called Mercator projection. This projection straightens the lines of latitude and longitude. Look at the lines. They are flat lines. Note that it is no longer the curving lines as it is in the previous maps. This projection is created to guide sailors. The map makers decided to create a map where a straight line drawn by a traveler would have a constant compass bearing. And it does with this map, making travel navigation easier and safer. In this projection, land areas around the poles are enlarged. Look at the land areas around the poles. These areas are enlarged. If you look closely, you would see Greenland. This is Greenland. Greenland appears to be about as large as South America. This is South America. So it appears to be as large as South America, but actually it is just 1/8 of the size. Okay, if you think the previous maps I have just shown to you are not exciting enough, let me show you a dramatic map. This is an Australian map of the world. Look at this map. What happened to this map? Have you got this map? Have you figured out? Okay, so where is this? This is Australia. And where is this? China, good. And where is the United States? Can you figure out? This one is the United States, right? Good. What is this? South America. Good. So what has happened to this map? Right. It has been reversed, upside down, right? So what is on the top of this map? The southern hemisphere. Okay. In the previous maps, the top just represents the northern hemisphere. But who says that the top should necessarily represent the northern hemisphere? The Australians say, no. the southern hemisphere should be put on the top. Therefore, this down-under map reverses the long-standing Western and Chinese convention that the top should represent the northern hemisphere. Okay, this is the Australian map. If you think this map is still not exciting enough, let me show you this map. This is the New Zealand world map. Look at this map. Have you figured out all the locations? Let me ask you, where is this? Australia. And where is this? New Zealand. And where is this? Antarctica. Good. What happened to this map? Well, have you ever imagined a world like this? No, it's totally beyond our imagination. By choosing a very special projection of the globe into 2 dimensions, this map makers managed to put the capital city of Wellington approximately in the center. You can see this is approximately in the center. Note that Antarctica is given for the first and only time the best treatment among all the maps. And here is a new USA world map. This is a map actively promoted by the National Geographic Society for classroom use. It seems that as time goes on, the Americans become less ethnocentric. North America is no longer in the center of the east-west axis. Let's look at the location of USA. In this map, it is no longer located in the center. It has been pushed away. North America is no longer in the center, and the major Eurasian landmass, look at the major Eurasian landmass, is given a more holistic view in this map. Okay, and then let's have a look at the United Nations map of the world. This map is unusual because it is not the product of any one nation, but one actively distributed by the United Nations. This map incorporates the Gore-Peters projection. It responds appropriately to political issues of equality within the United Nations. In this map, each member nation is given map space proportionate to its land area. Okay, this concludes our review of all the maps. You need to notice that there are political implications lurking behind all the choices we make when we agree on the mapping conventions. No any map of the world could be said to be definitive or undistorted. After reviewing these maps, have you learned something from the maps? What revelations can you get from these maps? It seems that everywhere in the world, people map themselves as world central and others as peripheral. The problem with maps is that we tend to forget that they are just maps. We just take these artificial representations as exactly what the world looks like. As David Foster Wallace said, we fail to see truth hidden in plain sight. The same is true of cultures. We tend to view our own culture as superior to others, and this tendency is so pervasive that we are often unconscious of it ourselves. Therefore, ethnocentrism is a human universal. Of course, people have good reasons to view their own living place as the center of the world, because in our own experience, it quite literally is the center. However, our mistake is to conclude from this natural tendency that what is at the center should be better, superior, natural, and normal. then this unthinking ethnocentrism blocks mutual understanding. One's own culture is just one's own. No culture is more valuable than other cultures. For others to respect our own culture, we need to respect and appreciate theirs. And only by stepping out of the framework of our own culture could we have a clearer view of it. Similar expressions could be seen in this Chinese poem written by Su Shi, entitled Written on the Wall of West Forest Temple. In Chinese, it goes like this: 横看成岭侧成峰，远近高低各不同。不识庐山真面目，只缘身在此山中。 And that's the English translation. Sideways a mountain range, vertically a peak, far near, soaring, crouching, never the same. No way to know Lushan's true face when you are in the middle of this mountain. This is why we have comparative culture course. Comparisons of cultures could help us gain an outsider's view. By comparison, we could have deeper understanding of both Chinese and Western civilizations. Sometimes we are not very clear about our own culture just because we were born in it and we grew up with it. And we are not fully aware of what we have unconsciously inherited. But by comparison of cultures, we could have a clearer view of both the strengths and weaknesses of our and others' cultural traditions. This is the very process of enlightenment, which is the momentum for the development of civilization. Comparisons of cultures could help you know thyself better and see more clearly what you are blessed with and what you lack. Gaining an outsider's view could help us loosen the grip of our cultural constraints and thereby deepen our capacity to analyze Chinese culture. As Chinese people, our attitudes towards Western civilization have gone through ups and downs in the recent history. From the closed-door policy to the advocacy of total Westernization to today's advocacy of the revival of traditional Chinese culture. Then how should we look at the two civilizations? How do we compare the two? Are there some similarities and differences between the two cultures? If yes, what are they? These questions are for you to ponder on. Note, we don't aim at finding a definite answer in this course, and there is no right or wrong, or good or bad in comparing civilizations. What are appreciated are your critical and independent understanding. Civilizations have become a hot issue recently in world politics. In 1996, a Harvard professor, Samuel P. Huntington, published a book entitled The Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of World Order. In this book, he proposed the idea that the clash of civilizations would be the defining feature of the world order in the post-Cold War era. He argued that in the post-Cold War era, the most important groupings of states are no longer the three blocks of the Cold War, but the world's 7 or 8 major civilizations. Cultural commonalities and differences shape the interests, antagonism, and associations of states. The most important countries in the world come overwhelmingly from different major civilizations. The balance of power among civilizations is shifting. The West is declining in relative influence. Asian civilizations are expanding their economic, military, and political strength. Islam is exploding demographically. And the non-Western civilizations generally are reaffirming the value of their own cultures. Power is shifting from the strong, predominant Western civilization to non-Western civilizations. The rivalry of the superpowers is replaced by the clash of civilizations. Huntington's controversial idea triggered hot debates worldwide. Professor汤一介is one of the Chinese scholars who responded critically to Huntington's idea. He published an article as a rebuttal to Huntington's idea of clash of civilizations in the year 2004, in which he advocated the belief of coexistence rather than the clash of civilizations. He thought that Huntington's clash of civilizations theory was produced to serve for American international politics. He quoted Bertrand Russell to show that the present Western civilization is formed by absorbing different cultural resources. Moreover, the progress of Chinese culture is also a proof that the clashes of civilizations were temporal, because for most of the time in Chinese history, the three major cultural branches, Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, coexist well in China. He thought that the major civilizations in the world could coexist through dialogues and communications. He further proposed that we might be experiencing a new axial age, today created by the contemporary global culture in this information age. The idea of axial age was proposed by German philosopher Karl Jaspers, who advocated that around 500 BC, great thinkers around the world appeared almost simultaneously. They are Socrates and Plato in ancient Greece, Lao Tzu and Confucius in China, Sakyamuni in India, and Jewish prophets in Israel. These great thinkers contributed their original ideas to the fundamental problems concerning the existence of human beings. And these ideas lay the foundation of the cultural traditions that have become the principal part of human intellectual wealth. These local cultural traditions were independent in birth, without mutual influence. Then he quoted Jaspers, "Until today, mankind has lived by what happened during the axial period, by what was thought and created during that period. In each new upward flight, it returns in recollection to this period and is fired anew by it. Ever since then, it has been the case that recollections and reawakenings of the potentialities of the axial period, renaissances, afford a spiritual impetus. And today, Euro-American, East Asian, South Asian, and Islamic cultures might propel human society to the level of a new axial age, in which, according to Professor Tang, these cultural traditions could coexist well in the new revival." He further argued that the traditional Chinese culture, Confucianism and Taoism, could contribute to world peace. The Confucian idea of 仁, that is, for example, never do to others as you do not wish done on yourself. Wishing to be established himself, he seeks also to establish others. Wishing to be enlarged himself, he seeks also to enlarge others. enlarge one's self-concern to the concern on others. And the Confucian doctrine of harmony in diversity could help establish the peaceful coexistence of different civilizations. Apart from Confucianism, according to Professor Tang, Chinese Taoism could also contribute to global peace. The spontaneity and doing nothing. In Chinese Taoism, we say 自然无为, which is to obey natural laws without offenses, could be taken as a therapy for hegemony. Professor Tang thought that in world politics, the more the superpowers interfere with other countries, the more chaotic the world would be. Any means of doing this, such as interference, exploitation, or military threat, could easily lead to turbulences, clashes, or wars. From the above debate, we could see that issues of civilizations are not merely civilizations. It is also a matter of world politics. As for which side convinces you more, you could form your own idea. Of course, we all cherish good intentions that the civilizations could coexist well, peacefully around the world. But as for what the world order would really be like, we will have to wait and see. What's more, you could also take their ideas as a debate about how to compare and contrast civilizations. Huntington is suggesting that the difference will, in the current period, overshadow similarities, and the difference will become the key force driving conflict. And Professor Tang disagrees and sees potential for cooperation based on converging similarities across civilizations. To summarize, in order to answer this question, why do we need to compare these two civilizations? We have examined the notion of ethnocentrism represented in different world maps and the heated debate on whether the future of world order would be a clash of civilizations or coexistence of them. When we study civilizations, we need to be cautious of this ethnocentric tendency hidden in our mind. Learn to appreciate and understand the other civilizations from their points of view. Be tolerant to different ideas and cultivate cross-cultural awareness. That's all for today's introductory part. Thank you.